using screaming caps, all uppercase with underscore separators. This is discouraged in C# but fine in Java. C# also suggests that developers use Hungarian notation for helping identify the type of the variable. Since C# doesn't distinguish between implementing an interface and extending a class, which is the case in Java, interface declarations have a I prefix. C# uses the C-style block declarations where open curly brace is on a new line, while Java has the open curly brace on the same line as the expression or declaration, the exception in both cases being inline blocks. Implementing interfaces and extending classes. While Java uses the keywords implements and extends, C# uses the colon to show that a class implements an interface or extends a class. C# syntax doesn't differentiate between the two, whereas Java is strict about which keyword should be used. Getters and setters. Java uses a naming convention for declaring getters and setters, while C# uses the keywords get and set. In C#, variables that are accessed via accessors are properties and are accessed using conventional dot notation, much like a public variable in Java. In Java, many frameworks make use of the naming convention to simplify accessing variables via getters and setters, such as Java's expression language used in JSPs. Primitives. C# implements string as a primitive, whereas Java implements string as an object. Generally, Java has a class definition of all primitives such as int and integer. This is not the case for C#, where a primitive is the class. This also means that you can use primitives in generics freely, which is not the case for Java generics, where you are required to use an object instead. Now let us take a look at the differences between PHP and C#. PHP is an interpreted language, meaning it is saved as the code you write and run directly from that code. In C# is an optimized and compiled language, meaning code you enter is reduced to a set of machine-specific instructions before being saved as an executable file. PHP does not offer an extensive debugging, although various products from third parties and Send allows for increased debugging and testing. ASP.NET includes extensive tracing and environment information that can be included in the page or displayed in a separate page. Microsoft Visual Studio.NET allows for easy interactive debugging of pages as they execute, in addition to the debugging of client-side scripting and SQL stored procedure. Let's take a look at the differences between PHP and Java. PHP is widely used general-purpose scripting language that is specially well-suited for web development and can be embedded into HTML. But PHP didn't support object-oriented programming until PHP 4 and PHP 5. But even then, its support is very basic. On the other hand, is uniquely defined by its object-oriented programming nature and is better suited for well-structured websites that use an MVC model view controller architecture. PHP is a dynamic typed language. In Java is compiled and strongly typed language. Changing PHP code is very difficult, as the exact semantics are not clear from a static view of the code. Semantics might depend on the file that is currently including us, global variables which can contain any type. No freely available tool allows refactoring code automatically. In Java, as the language is simpler, the semantics are clear from the start. If you redesign a class, you break the parts of the code that use the old API. To complete the refactoring, you have to just chase these compilation errors. IDEs are able to know exactly what your code is doing, and then they can offer intelligent refactoring options. PHP is a purely interpreted language. Its completely dynamic nature makes it very difficult language for compilation. PHP is a purely interpreted language. Its completely dynamic nature makes it very difficult language for compilation. In the PHP world, compiling just means caching the opcodes. The opcodes consist just in a parsed version of PHP's source code. And in Java, Sun has invested millions in Hotspot, a state-of-art virtual machine that dynamically profiles the code being executed. When the VM detects a place worth of compiling, it goes ahead and compiles it right into the machine code. The name of the VM hotspot comes from that. Everything is magically casted in PHP. Integers to strings, strings to integers, strings to booleans, etc. Arrays always get passed by value. So if you assign an array to a variable, you are copying all its content to a new array, and all modifications get lost. Java has its issues with the consistency too, mainly that arrays and primitive types are different things than the objects one can't create. However, this is not an issue any developer would face in creating an application.